Hello everyone and welcome. Is vegetarian food essential for spiritual growth? Vegetarian food is not essential for spiritual growth, but it helps. Let us look at it from three different perspectives: spiritual, physiological, and psychological. From a deeper or a spiritual perspective, what you do is never essential. What you are is always essential. Being is essential. Doing is not that essential. Consciousness is essential. Character is not essential. Because it is not the character that creates consciousness, but consciousness that creates character. If you are spiritual, things will change around you automatically. Your food habits may change. You may become a vegetarian or you may not. It depends. People are different. But to be a vegetarian cannot be an essential condition for being spiritual. Eating anything will not make much difference. You can be a vegetarian and cruel to the extreme and violent. You can be a non-vegetarian and kind and loving. Food will not make that much difference. In India, there are communities who have lived totally with vegetarian food for thousands of years. Many Brahmins who lived totally with vegetarian food. They do not cause violence, but they are not spiritual. Well, here is the secret. If you meditate long enough, deep enough, it is impossible for you to hurt anybody for food. It is impossible. It is not a question of argument. It is not a question of scriptures. It is not who says what. It is not a question of calculating that if you take vegetarian food, you will become spiritual. No, it is automatic. It is not a question of cunningness. You simply become spiritual. The whole thing of eating meat will then seems so silly, so absurd. Just for food, killing animals, birds, seems so absurd. It just falls down. But the inner change through meditation, through self-inquiry, through understanding is the first thing. And everything else is just a consequence. If you reverse the order, watch out, you may miss it. So, the primary aspect is of consciousness, the degree of consciousness. The secondary aspect is of the gross body, physiological. Man naturally or physiologically should be a vegetarian because the whole body is made for the vegetarian food. Non-vegetarian animals like tigers and lions have very small intestines because meat is already a digested food. It does not need a long intestine to digest it. Man has one of the longest intestines. That means man is a vegetarian. A long digestion is needed and much excreta will be there which has to be thrown out. If man is not a non-vegetarian and he goes on eating meat, the body is burdened because the meat with toxins stays longer in his stomach. Just watch what happens when you eat meat. When you kill an animal, what happens to the animal when it is killed. Of course, no one wants to be killed. Life wants to prolong itself. That's the nature of life. The animal is not dying willingly. If somebody kills you, you will not die willingly. What will happen to your mind? The same thing happens when you kill a cow or any animal. Agony, fear, death, anguish, anxiety, anger, violence, sadness, all these things happen to the animal. All over his body, violence, anguish, agony spreads. The whole energy becomes poisonous. Then those poisonous toxins are carried into your body. What will those toxins do? Those toxins or poisons will create a gap between your consciousness or being and your body, and a tension arises, anxiety arises. Your being becomes out of balance, which creates physiological and psychological disorders. Animals, humans have certain processing information or software in their bodies. Whatever a man eats, it transforms into the man. Whatever a woman eats, it transforms into a woman. Whatever an animal eats, it transforms into the animal. So, the idea is to eat as simple a software as possible. If you eat that kind of life, which is very simple software, your ability to override that software and make it entirely a part of you is easy. As that software gets complex, your ability to integrate it goes down, especially if it is a creature which has some sense of thought and emotion. Then we should not eat it, because you cannot easily integrate it into you. Cow has emotions close to the levels of a human. Do you know that cows shed tears when there is a death in the family, when someone in the family is in intense pain, etc.? So, beef needs to be avoided. Would you eat your pet's meat? No. Would you eat human meat? No. Why is a cow or a lamb an exception? Cow or lambs have more sophisticated or refined feelings than your pet. Therefore, one should eat foods which are natural for you. Fruits, nuts, vegetables. Eat as much as you can. The virtue of being a vegetarian is this: the gross part of the food goes to the gross or physical body, and the subtle part of the food goes to the subtle part, which is the mind. Foods like flesh and fish are purely lethargic or tamasic. They make the mind also tamasic, which is incapable of rising to pure or sattvic heights and to higher logic or higher reasoning. And then there is another aspect, which is psychological. We are also responsible morally for the injury we cause in that connection. The butcher, the seller, and the eater all partake of that injury caused by meat eating. You cannot avoid the law of karma. You will have to face the consequences of the injury either now or later. You might ask if this is not also true of consuming vegetables because you are killing life. Well, the answer is no. The rudiments of mind and feeling Begin only with animals. Vegetables have no such active thought or feeling which can react upon you and cause you misery. Thank you.